Hey everybody, once again sorry about the lack of XTM. I'm still not hooked up to the internet on my PC. Should be by the end of this week. So I will be able to get most, if not all, of these Goon replays out before I end up updating to 9.5 and playing the game again. I've been spending the last 2 weeks down visiting my family. I actually just got back today, about an hour or two ago. And so, with not much else to do on my PC, I decided to just record some more of these. Now this is the EU server. This is a replay from Renhanxue. I assume that's probably not how you pronounce it, but whatever, close enough. And he's tuned up with Witch Fetish and Torb. Now, without XCM, I can tell you that the three of them are very good players, but I can't tell you anything about any of the other players in this match because I just don't know. This is the EU server, I don't play on. Initially I wasn't really going to record this. It was a solid game, but it's something you've seen me do probably about a dozen times by now, just shooting up the middle of this map and being an asshole in a Soviet medium. But what tipped the balance in favour of recording it was actually this AMX50B, more accurately the comments he made in chat during the match. So Ren has positioned himself in a good spot here, same spot I use. He's maybe moving it around a little bit more. I tend to be a bit more reckless with my 430, pushing more aggressively on that bush line in front, just to get the spots and to try and draw fire. Knowing the 430 has pretty good hull armor, I can often bounce it. But Ren is being a little more reserved than I would be, probably because he's a better player than me. He also has Torb in support in the 113. Now the 113 gets a lot of hate. It's not a bad tank by any measure, it's just not particularly stellar compared to some of the real shining stars of tier 10. But it's a good solid tank. It has good armor, a pretty good gun, good mobility. It's just not outstanding, and unfortunately the way tier 10 is at the moment, being not outstanding is enough to make you consider to be bad. Either way, the 113 is a pretty strong tank to have in this position. The IS-3 gets removed in one click. 53, 55s are not something you ever want to be hit by in a tier 8. And then the Tiger 2, who still has a stock turret, is unlucky to find himself tracked where Torb and Ren can hit him. He goes down pretty quickly. Interestingly, the AMX and the TDs, who are almost certainly in the lower left-hand corner of the map in the K1 and K2 area, they aren't firing across at Ren or Torb. They're not restricting them from shitting on their teammates like this, which is pretty crappy. I'd be pretty mad if I was on the enemy team here. You know, these two guys are firing up at the hill. It's pretty clear. You can see their turrets are turned to the side. You could get at least one decent hit in while they're distracted, but it seems the enemy team aren't keen to even try. Just a minor point here, of course this is 9.4, not 9.5. With no internet I haven't been able to update the World Tanks client on my PC, which is why I can still record these replays. The AMX gets popped there. At the moment it's just a pretty static game, playing the middle, trying to get any advantage possible. Now, as far as I'm aware, Ren is running optics on his Object 140, which is a good idea. Generally, the meta has shifted away from vents and more towards optics or binoculars. Usually optics on more mobile tanks and binoculars on TDs, or some of the heavies with much worse bloom issues that aren't going to be moving as often. So with an optics-equipped 140, you can get quite a lot of work done in this part of the map, although he's not actually getting too many shots in at the moment. He is spotting things. and that's the point of being in this position. It's partly to put pressure on the hill through fire, but partly to keep the centre of the map spotted. And indeed, if you have a good enough view range, you can spot much more than just the centre of the map. You can spot most of the map from this position. The bat goes down to Witch Fetish, who is up on the hill. As I believe I've said before, it's generally good practice if you have a 3-man platoon to have at least one of them on the hill and somebody down here as well. You can play with the numbers a bit. Sometimes you have one down here and 2 on the hill, sometimes vice versa, like in this situation. It doesn't really matter, as long as you have a platoon who are coordinated and you have at least one player covering each of these 2 positions. AMX 50B rolls up there, gives Ren a chance to get a shot into the side of its turret. I'm not sure what the AMX was thinking there. I don't know what he was hoping to achieve, but it didn't do him any favours. Unlucky with the snapshot there. He misses the T-44, but the T-44 is now in a bad position. He is in the bowl there at F3. It can be a strong position, but looking at the positioning his team's taken and also how aggressively Ren and Torb handling the middle of this map, it's not really as strong as it should be. I wouldn't have gone there. In that position, of course, the T-44 is basically doing the same as what Ren is doing, but for the opposite side of the map. He's scouting all down the 1 and 2 lines. Once again, that is a strong position. It's a bowl. Basically, to get a shot into you, a tank either has to run all the way up the hill with one line, or has to crest over into the bowl and basically come down and brawl you. The problem is, the 53-55 on Ren's team appears to be doing quite decently for himself, and that position is totally devoid of arty cover. It's really open, and if you get lit in it and arty's looking that way, you're in deep shit. Torb goes down to the 183, but Ren is still up, and still full hit points actually, and is able to help Witch Fetish dispatch the weapon PTA. The 50B is now in a very bad spot, and if he has any sense, he'll retreat. The T-44 seems to think he can run up the 2 line along with the AMX. The AMX has 1 hit point. Obviously he's after the arty, but I'm not sure what the T-44 was really hoping to achieve there. Even if he got the arty, his team is at a pretty serious disadvantage right now. Ren's team control the east side of the map, and although they don't technically control the west in terms of having a solid line of tanks out there, Ren is still full health. He's in the tier 10 medium, and he's fighting mostly lower tier tanks, like the T-44 and the 50 that was last spotted out here. So he's actually able to basically look after the sector of the map mostly on his own, with a little help from the AC-48 and the KB-4 as he needs it. So there's one thing I probably should have mentioned in a previous video. Map control isn't always about how many tanks are in each part of the map. It depends also on which tanks and which players are in each part of the map. Sometimes it only takes 1 player to cover an area that otherwise would take 3 or 4. It really depends on their skill, what they're driving, and what is actually going on in the match. In this case, the TDs are doing their usual TD thing. They're hiding like shitters in the forest down at the furthest possible section of the map where they can't possibly hope to do anything, and so Ren is able to deal with the mediums basically at will. And here's where the fun chat starts. Warpack piece of shit, says the 50B. To which Torb, of course, requires nice 48% win rate. Well, there's at least one player we don't need XVM to figure out the stats of. With a little help from the XC-48, Ren is able to take down the A-50. The AMX gets a pretty sneaky shot in there, but pays for it quite dearly. The AC-48 has an alright gun. It's a 120, it hurts pretty hard when it hits. The problem is the AC-48 doesn't have the best armor, and although it has a decent mobility, it's an easy target once it's caught in a position like that. So as Ren begins cleaning up, on the west flank. Torb continues riling up the enemy AMX, as any reasonable person would, of course. Ren's taking it a little slow here. The reason for this is that there is an ISU and a 183 still unspotted. Now, the 183 could one-shot him easily, even if he was full health. The ISU at this point could also one-shot him, even if it minimum rolled. So it makes sense to take things a little slower and spot from camouflage, or if possible, get a little help from your teammates. Even though the game looks like it's mostly handball at this point, never underestimate the ability of pubbies to throw a one match. You know, as much as I get really aggressive and throw my tank away in the final seconds of a pretty secure match, it's not really best practice, so I wouldn't suggest copying my technique in that situation. It has led to losses before. But in this case, Ren's in a really good position. None of these guys can get gun depression to hit him, and he manages to perma-track the 183 in a really nasty spot. And it goes down quite easily, leaving Witch Fetish to go and deal with the Artie. He actually misses it, or tracks it, or something, which is odd because the pattern has such good on the move accuracy. Again, the 140 does too, but Ren manages to miss too. RNG. Witch Fetish finally does get it, and they end the match 15-7. Pretty comfortable match. It started out a little slow, as most Prokhorovka matches often do, particularly at this tier, but once you can leverage that advantage the center of the map gives you, particularly on the eastern side by the rails, it begins to pick up the pace pretty quickly, and before you know it, whichever team is able to utilize that central position the best comes out on top in short order, unless the rest of their team does something unbelievably stupid somewhere else on the map. Now, I can't remember offhand how much spotting damage Ren was able to pick up this match, but I'm pretty sure it would have been a decent amount, given the position he was in and the fact I'm pretty sure he was packing optics. But regardless of the amount of spotting damage, it's 5600 damage and surviving the match, not a bad result. And it's a little more Object 140 play, since I don't actually get mine out nearly as often as I should. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. The problem is, a lot of the big games people have in post-up, it's when you tend to have a really good setup like this, and so inevitably, as I make more and more videos of this game, you're going to get situations where I have a dozen or 2 dozen videos of the same map, the same strat, maybe not necessarily the same tank, but basically the same sort of thing happening. And although you do get little variations here and there, it's more or less the same thing, and we're used to it by now. So I'm thinking, unless there's something really, really outlandishly outstanding to show with regards to the middle position on this map, I'm done with them. This will probably be the last one, either from other goons or from myself. You know, unless I'm trying to demonstrate a new tank or something, because it's been done. You guys have probably got the drift by now. If you haven't, you really should pick up on it. It's a really good spot, but you know, I'm sure you guys don't want to watch the same game essentially be played 20 or 30 times over. I don't really want to waste time recording 20 or 30 very, very similar matches, so yeah, this will be the last one of this strat on this map. Other strats, sure, I'll take them as they come, but as far as the middle strat goes, unless something really really worthy happens, like say I set 5 people in a row on fire, or you know, somebody gets racked and a turret lands in someone else's tank or something, I don't think it's worth it. At any rate, we'll see how we go with the rest of the videos. Hopefully I will be able to get at least a couple up. The main issue now isn't so much that, you know, the amount of time it takes to record them versus how badly I want to play 9.5. The issue is rather how long it's going to take to upload all of these when I finally get around to it. So I think I got about 15 or 20 replays to record. I probably won't do all of them. I'll probably pick out maybe 5, 10 at most, and just leave the rest. So on that note, I'm going to have to leave you guys. Again, thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.